Ouais, ouais, ça marche.
Avancez encore. Monsieur. On est par là, on est par là. On va voir, on va bien dégager, le rapprocher, mais... Ouais, c'est mon jeu, c'est là. Regarde.
Wow.
Allez les gars, on va en assaut jusqu'à l'entrée de la rue, est-ce que t'as vu? Attention à droite. Le force, attention, ça remonte au bout d'un moment. Allez, reculez les gars, reculez là. Les gars, reculez les arrières, restez là, maximum.
Au bout à gauche. Je peux sortir ou ouais, par là, vous pouvez y aller, ouais. Ouais, non, mais je peux me barrer après. Si tu peux barrer, ouais. Et extincteur qu'on n'a pas dans le coffre, un grand extincteur.
Il y a un hôtel là-bas, je vous demande. Il y a un hôtel là-bas.
J'ai rien, non, c'est grave.
Bon. Ah là, du filou.
poser une question sur... Si on se met vite à l'adresse, je te pose des questions dans la minute. Juste sur ce qui s'est passé. En gros, je bosse pour Reuters, l'agence de presse. Ici, ça te va? Ou plus loin? Ouais, ça va. Bah en fait, en vrai, laisse tomber. Rentre bien chez toi, bye. Ouais, très bien. Quand tu dis repliez-vous, tu veux dire j'appelle Londres, je coupe le live et je me casse ou... Ouais, mais... Ouais. Je pense que ça s'est calmé, hein. Pour le coup là ça a l'air plus calme. Ouais. Oui. Oui, ok, ouais. Ok. Ok, bah je vais couper le live alors parce que pour faire des votes, je vais pas le faire sur le live quoi. Je peux les appeler hein, je suis à l'abri là, je peux les appeler. Ok, d'accord. Ouais, ok, ça marche. Merci. Salut.
Now, the far-right Marine Le Pen and her Rassemblement National party enjoying, if not a resurgence in popularity. She has seen her popularity steadily rise. A majority of French, especially mostly right-wing voters, but on the right of the political spectrum, do not see her, are not as inclined to see her as a danger, as much of a danger to French democracy as she might have been seen before. She has tried to tame her public image. She has tried to mainstream her public image a lot. But there are other figures on the far right who are seen as even more to the right, say, of Marine Le Pen and her Rassemblement National. Notably, we saw the failed presidential candidate Éric Zemmour and his movement, which some of his critics say really emboldened, and this is a pattern, obviously, Francois, that doesn't just apply to France, but across Europe and obviously in the U.S. as well, where the rhetoric of the far right, especially the anti-immigrant rhetoric of the far right, has emboldened those who are inclined to, let's just put it mildly, to view immigrants or migrants of any kind in a negative light. It has emboldened them to perhaps say and do things that they would not have been as inclined to do in the past.
All right. It appears from the live images that we're getting that the situation at that Flashpoint corner, if you know Paris, of the Rue du Faubourg Saint-Denis, which is what we're looking at, looking southwards towards the Seine, and the Rue d'Anguin, where this morning's terror attack took place, that things are quietening down now, what with riot police now in full gear and in control of at least of that street corner. We can see earlier, again, those clashes kicking off right after the Interior Minister had spoken. The Interior Minister who was quick to say that there would be a stepping up of protection of Kurdish cultural centers, of Kurdish sites, also saying that Kurds would be able to commemorate that 10th anniversary that Douglas was talking about of that killing of three prominent PKK members 2013 here in Paris. The French Interior Minister, who again spoke a short while ago.
We have decided, at the President and the Prime Minister's request, to let those who want to demonstrate do so in the best possible conditions. But let's not also forget that 10 years ago there was a sad anniversary. Kurdish women were assassinated, and this sad anniversary should have been commemorated by the Kurds. So of course we will ensure their safety, whether it's today or at the beginning of the month of January.
Leur sécurité pour ces manifestations, que ce soit aujourd'hui ou dans le début du mois de janvier.
Yeah, that January 10th anniversary is going to take on more significance, Douglas Herbert, after the tragedy that struck this morning.
Much more. I think there are two strands here that sort of merge and intersect in various ways, Francois. And one is obviously the sense of Kurds, if not maybe being under siege is too far, but really a sense that they have not been given the protections they feel they need, especially in the context of the anti-foreigner, anti-migrant, anti-immigrant environment that has been rising in France. Now, let's be clear. The vast majority of the Kurdish citizens living in France, many of them are French citizens. They are as French as any so-called white Christian French, but they're perceived as targets. They see themselves as targets. There's that strand, and there's obviously the geopolitical context with Turkey. Whenever you have a lot of the Kurdish community coming under siege or attacked, it also serves as a tripwire for a lot of the pent-up anger and resentment at Turkey.
And that's coming to a head right now with elections planned for the spring. And in the run-up to those elections,
exactly.
The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who's been talking up the possibility of an incursion into Syria to take on Kurds there.
And there was the beginnings of that we saw actually back in November. You know, in recent years when we have had the Kurdish community in Paris and other French cities where you have a diaspora, whenever they have been marching, 2019 is one example. It was against, at that time, Turkish airstrikes against parts of Iraqi Kurdistan. Remember, the Kurdish homeland sort of straddles the borders of several countries. Most prominently, obviously, there's Iraqi Kurdistan. They also, you know, Turks obviously in Syria as well. So, you know, they're spread across a wide geographic swath. But often when Turkey is seen as targeting the Kurdish community, or when it launches military offenses, whether it's against Kurdish refugees in northern Syria, as been the case recently in what you're talking about, these threatened offenses against the Kurdish community and the refugees in those areas, or the Kurds in Iraqi Kurdistan in the north of Iraq, where we've seen airstrikes recently, and also Kurdish community coming in under attack by Iran. A real sense that the Kurdish community here, these are people who on the geopolitical front are under siege from a lot of extremely hostile neighbors, people who do not like them, and also here in France, adding to that geopolitical insecurity is the insecurity that they get that the French police, the French security forces here in France, which they should consider a homeland, a safe haven for them, they're not even able to feel really safe here as well.
Let's cross to the scene. France 24's Clovis Casali is there. Clovis, it appears as though the anger has subsided to a degree. All right, we seem to be having issues with the microphones, Clovis. We'll try to get those settled ASAP so we can cross live to you, reporting from one block away from the live images that you're seeing in the center of Paris. If you're just joining us on France 24, the city and the nation in shock after a 69-year-old retired whale worker targeted a Kurdish cultural center in the heart of Paris's 10th arrondissement. On the Friday morning before Christmas. 3 dead, 2 in front of the Kurdish center, and 1 in front of a neighboring restaurant. There are 2 others, at least, in a hospital, including 1 in critical condition. The shooter, who is under arrest, slightly injured. The Interior Minister speaking at the scene and a little under 1 hour ago, and as soon as he finished, well, what you're seeing is what unfolded: clashes with tear gas used, rocks thrown, firefighters now on the scene putting out the fire at a makeshift barricade that was set up on the Rue du Faubourg Saint-Denis, adjacent to where those clashes took place. Traffic, it seems, starting to reopen on Paris's Grand Boulevard, or not.
Yeah.
Douglas Herbert, the
this is a real, you know, This is an extremely popular area in Paris. People go out there, it's a bustling commercial area, but also lots of bars and restaurants. Like you said, it is a hub of the Kurdish community as well. There's a lot of Turkish restaurants around there, Kurdish restaurants. This is a real place where people go in northeast Paris in the 10th arrondissement. And whether or not it's a little quieter because it's on the eve of a holiday weekend, some Parisians have left town. But normally this is an extremely busy and bustling area. And the fact that, it happened here, these two streets run parallel to each other, which we just showed with the arch there, and that is the Grand Boulevard, the Grand Boulevard, which lead, if you keep going down, directly to the Garnier Opera House. So we're really not far. You're saying we're in the geographical center of Paris, but we're also not far from the touristic center of Paris. If you walk, another couple of kilometers straight down that Grand Boulevard that you were talking about, you hit, all the tourists with their iPhones, flashing at the Christmas tree scenes by the Grand Opera House down there. So this really is in every respect central Paris, very busy area normally, a very sort of traditionally been a working class area, but it's a real a multicultural mix, which sounds cliched, but it really it's very, very true when you're talking about this area of northeastern Paris.
And the Interior Minister stating for now there's nothing to link the shooter either to Turkey or to any known far-right group, although they are investigating. And again, he did have a rap sheet, an arrest last year for targeting migrants. He was released in December of 2021 over that incident. This retired rail worker, the Interior Minister who had been in the crosshairs of the law, but not, as you were saying, Douglas Herbert, who had not been listed as part of a known radicalized far-right group using a handgun in this attack.
And he also, I believe the police, from their initial investigations, it seems that he was a member of a shooting club. So, in this case, he had a gun. It's still unclear, where he got his gun, but that would be one, very plausible explanation. If he was a member of a shooting club in France, you're allowed to own a gun when you're a gun club member. The rules are a lot different than in the U.S., where guns are much more accessible. But gun crime, obviously, here is not unheard of, far from it.
Let's cross back to France 24's Clovis Casali. Clovis, tell us where you are.